All right, let's now cut across to a statement that is being made by the Chinese Foreign Minister.
Intimidation will never work on China. The U.S. wants to use the so-called sanctions to obstruct China's legislation process to safeguard national security in Hong Kong. Such attempt stands no chance to succeed. Regarding the wrong moves by the U.S. side, China will take necessary retaliatory measures to resolutely safeguard our national interests. Next question. According to the U.S. Defense Department announcement, the EU side says that China's whole government campaign has expanded from the Indian Pacific to the North Pole, Europe, and Africa, which undermines the post-Second World War international facilities. What's your comment? I think the U.S. is just describing what it is practicing. The relevant remarks are shifting blames and ill-intentioned. The international community has seen it clearly. We urge the U.S. side to abandon the Cold War mindset and zero-sum game conception. It should stop presuming others based on its own pattern, stop groundless accusations and slanders against China. Instead, it should do more to contribute to world peace, stability, and prosperity instead of the other way around. Next question. With Global Times, China is strongly concerned about the relevant notice issued by the Indian side. We are checking on and verifying the situation. I want to stress the Chinese government always asks the Chinese businesses to abide by international rules and local laws and regulations in their business cooperation with foreign countries. And the Indian government has a responsibility to uphold the legitimate and legal rights of the international investors, including the Chinese ones. The practical cooperation between China and India is actually mutually beneficial and a win-win. Such a pattern has been artificially undermined. It's not in the interest of the Indian side.
All right, so that was China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian there, reacting to India having banned the 59 Chinese mobile phone apps. He said that China is strongly concerned and is verifying the situation. He also went on to reiterate that cooperation between India and China will be a win-win situation. Some interesting words there by the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson. Let's listen in to what Zhao Lijian had to say again.
China is strongly concerned about the relevant notice issued by the Indian side. We are checking on and verifying the situation. I want to stress the Chinese government always asks the Chinese businesses to abide by international rules and local laws and regulations in their business cooperation with foreign countries. And the Indian government has a responsibility to uphold the legitimate and legal rights of the international investors, including the Chinese ones. The practical cooperation between China and India is actually mutually beneficial and a win-win. Such a pattern has been artificially undermined. It's not in the interest of the Indian side.
All right, so that was China's Foreign Ministry's spokesperson Zhao Lijian there, reacting to India's decision to ban 59 Chinese apps in India, including the likes of TikTok, Weibo, etc. Now, these apps, remember, were banned by the Indian government yesterday night. The spokesperson of the Chinese Foreign Ministry has said that China is extremely concerned about the situation and is in the process of verifying developments. This is the latest bit of information. He also went on to reiterate that cooperation between India and China is going to be a win-win for both the nations. perhaps in some ways displaying some amount of concern in terms of what this would mean financially for these Chinese mobile app companies that have made their fortune because of the manner that they have expanded in India. Remember, TikTok, the most successful of all Chinese apps in India. It is used by well over 100 million people actively on a month-to-month basis. So China there displaying some amount of concern for what India has effectively done by stating that 59 of these Chinese apps have now been banned in India. This, remember, is something that has been done because the Indian government had stated that the manner in which these apps act and also the manner in which they operate is prejudicial to the security of India, because also the manner in which it stores the data, the kind of data that in fact it collects. And these are some very serious concerns which the Indian government has put forth. And with this, in the aftermath of the standoff that has taken place in Iraq, the Indian government has decided to take this move, which it appears to have perturbed the Chinese establishment. So let's listen in to Zhao Lijian, the spokesperson of the Chinese Foreign Ministry, reacting to India having banned the Chinese apps in India.
China is strongly concerned about the relevant notice issued by the Indian side. We are checking and verifying the situation. I want to stress the Chinese government always asks the Chinese businesses to abide by international rules and local laws and regulations in their business cooperation with foreign countries. And the Indian government has a responsibility to uphold the legitimate and legal rights of the international investors, including the Chinese ones. The practical cooperation between China and India is actually mutually beneficial and a win-win. Such a pattern has been artificially undermined. It's not in the interest of the Indian side.
All right, so this is the Chinese reaction to India having banned 59 Chinese mobile applications in a single move. Some of the biggest digital businesses of China have lost access to what is one of the largest markets in the world. TikTok, UC Browser, WeChat, Weibo, Viva Video, WeSync, ShareIt, Beidou Maps, etc. All of these Chinese applications have now been banned in India, and as per experts, this is of course going to be a major blow to China's digital Silk Route, and this is a concern which the Chinese spokesperson has also stated. Now, India has said that these apps are engaged in activities that are prejudicial to the sovereignty and integrity of India. New Delhi has also said that the move will safeguard the interests of crores of Indian internet users. It is a massive move. It is unprecedented in recent history that apps that are so popular, such as TikTok, have now been banned. And these banned Chinese giants will most definitely feel the pinch after being booted from the Indian market. Now, here's what some of these Chinese companies stand to lose. 120 million users would have disappeared from TikTok's global directory. UC Browser would have lost nearly about 130 million of its clientele. ShareIt, the popular file transfer app, was being used, believe it or not, by 400 million Indians every single month. And this represents a huge market loss for these apps. WeChat is also set to lose nearly about 200 million users. Although the app never really caught on with the Indian public. In India, WhatsApp is what works, but WeChat was the Chinese equivalent, although it was much more in terms of its applications than what WhatsApp is presently capable of. Now, these are also the companies who depend on a massive user base to attract advertisements and subscription payments. The loss of a market with almost about 550 million potential users is a big blow to these Chinese tech companies. Now, politically, this also sends across a strong message to China. India has clearly drawn the battle lines, and this is a digital retaliation for the Chinese aggression at the border. Now, what India has hit at is China's soft power. China views technology as its stairway to becoming a superpower, and banning these Chinese apps will mean nipping these ambitions of China in the bud. So this is what China is presently losing out on. 120 million TikTok users, 130 million users of UC browser. And also what is interesting in all of this is that there are other apps which will immediately come in, will be used instead of these Chinese apps. There are other alternative apps that can be used instead of TikTok, UC browser, Share It, etc. And the impact on the Indian consumers as such will be fairly limited. But these major Chinese tech companies who develop these apps have lost out what is arguably the biggest market outside of China to carry out their businesses.